Downtown Miami, the Marlins and the Braves finishing off a 3-game series. And what a long, weird, tough stretch it's been for the Fish. They've dropped 7 in a row, 6 by 1 runs. The Braves have won the first 2 games of this series, and they meet tonight after a bit of a change in the Marlins clubhouse last night. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz joined tonight by Jeff Conine, along with Tommy Hutton. The news of the night last night, aside from the Marlins losing another 1-run game, the fact that the Marlins changed hitting coaches. John Maley out. Eduardo Perez is in. And I'll start with both you guys. Tommy, we'll go with you first. The reasons behind the move.
Well, I think you changed because a lot of hitters have struggled with runners in scoring position, and you hope a change in philosophy is going to help.
Okay. Jeff Conine, we turn to you. Now, you're a guy that played for a lot of teams, had a lot of different hitting coaches. How long before Eduardo Perez can have an effect on the Marlin hitters?
Well, that's an interesting situation, interesting question, because these guys actually grew up with John Maley in the minor leagues. They're very friendly with him. They've created a relationship. So Eduardo Perez is going to kind of take it easy, I think, this first week, show them that they need to respect him as a hitting coach, as their new hitting coach, and learn their personality and kind of ease them into it.
Let's talk baseball then. Job number 1 for Eduardo Perez and his hitters, go against maybe the best pitcher, the hottest pitcher in the National League, Jair Jurgens.
Yeah, well, by the way, Eduardo Perez, you have your hitters now going up against the guy who was the pitcher of the month for the month of May. Just 25 years old, Jair Jurgens. He is off to a tremendous year. He's second in the major leagues with that ERA of 1.65. If you remember, he started the season on the disabled list. He had an oblique strain, but the number I like, 24 strikeouts, just 6 walks in his 43-plus innings. He's a tough one.
Okay, one of the frustrating things, Niner, about this stretch, the Marlins have lost 7 in a row. They've been getting good pitching, good starting pitching, and especially good bullpen.
Well, there's a reason for those 7 one-run losses, and that is the bullpen. They've been keeping them close in games. Starting pitching has not been allowing that much, and the bullpen's coming in and giving them a great job. So the clutch hitting is the problem that the Marlins have been having, thus the change in hitting coaches.
To get to the bullpen tonight, the Marlins need Chris Volstad to have a good night.
Well, you'd like to see Volstad throw the ball the way he did in his last outing. He's pitched better at home this year and in his career. His last win, though, was April 26th against the Dodgers.
And we try to shake it up here tonight. Jeff Conine joins us for the entire evening. Should be fun. Marlins, Braves. Fish try to stop the streak. We'll meet the new guy, Eduardo Perez, when we return. Seven-game losing streak tonight. Let's start things out in left field with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Rich, thank you very much, and good evening again, everybody. You don't know John Maley, but he was a very popular guy, especially in the Marlins clubhouse with the hitters, as you heard the guys talk about. He's a guy that really taught him from almost the ground level up in terms of becoming a professional hitter. But the Marlins have got to turn the page. The players have got to turn the page because the organization made the decision to let Maley go after the game last night, and that's quite a jolt in the clubhouse. The man that will take over now is Eduardo Perez. You probably know him pretty well because he's been on national television doing a baseball show on ESPN for the last 5 years. You know him from his 13-year big league career. He's also the son, of course, of Marlins executive and Hall of Famer Tony Perez. And Eduardo told us he's been keeping a close eye on the fish.
Well, fortunately, being in a show like Baseball Tonight, I know pretty much all the 30 teams right now, and I've definitely been keeping track of the Marlins. Having, obviously, a connection here really helps. With my father, it really helps. We talk a lot about the organization. I follow these guys. I follow from Lomo to Hanley's situation to Coughlin and Mike. There's so many good players here, and right now it's all about having an attitude, having them, they got to get their attitude back. The attitude that we saw early on in the season is what they have to bring to the table now.
Eduardo had to wiggle out of a couple of jobs to take this one, the one with ESPN, and also he was a special assistant with the Cleveland Indians organization working in their minor league system. He'd make trips to AA, AAA, talk hitting and other things. He did both of those things. The Marlins are happy to have him as their hitting coach here to take over in June here and try to get him off the schneid, as they say. Time now for baseball and Game 3 of this year's tough matchup. Chris Volstad takes on Jair Jurgens and the Braves. Rich, Tommy, and Jeff with the call next.
Baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Toyota, moving forward, by AT&T, by Checkers, Little Place, Big Taste, and by All Your Cooling, today's comfort, yesterday's prices. Sun Life Stadium in Miami, the Braves and the Marlins. Atlanta comes in at 34 and 28. Here's the Braves lineup from Freddie Gonzalez, Jordan Schaefer in center, Alex Gonzalez at short, Brian McCann will do the catching, Chippers at third, Freddie Freeman at first, Eric Hinsky in left field, got Brooks Conrad, Matt Young, Jair Jurgens hits ninth. Martin Prado still out with an injury. Of course, Jason Hayward is on the disabled list, and Chris Volstad misses with his first pitch. Here's the 1-0. In the air to left, Morrison makes the catch.
Rich, I think a good example for Chris Volstad is if he watched Derek Lowe last night, pound sinkers all night. Chris Volstad has a good sinker. If he uses that, gets ahead, throws strikes, he'll pick up a win. The last time he won was April 26th against the Dodgers.
So Volstad gets Schaefer. Here is Alex Gonzalez. Guys, in talking to some of the Marlin hitters, especially guys that had faced Lowe in the past, they said last night was the best they'd ever seen his sinker.
And he's got one of the best. I mean, when he was a closer, I think, with Boston, for me, that was when he had his best sinker, because you go out there, you've got 1 inning to pitch, he's got a lot more velocity on it, and he was much more difficult to hit then than as a starter for me.
Greg Dobbs said it was such a good sinker, it made you think, is he cheating? And he probably wasn't putting anything on the ball. He said it was because of the wind. He likes the mound here, and he said the wind really helped.
I tell you, a lot of visiting pitchers comment on how well they pitch on this mound.
Chris Volstad familiar with this mound. This is his 85th career start. A breaking ball, and Alex Gonzalez fouls it off. Alex Gonzalez facing Volstad here. The count 0-2. This guy's been dialed in this series. Gonzalez 2 hits last night, drove in a run, hit the ball hard all night long. And of course, his home run was the only run in Game 1 on Tuesday night. It's a good place to miss on 0-2, or on 1-2, and the count now 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Niner, I made the comment last night or the night before that really, I think over the years, Alex has become a much better hitter.
Absolutely.
Than he was when he was here.
Absolutely. I saw him early on when I actually went to an instructional league with him and Luis Castillo in 1994. And folks, you would not have believed their range and the ability that they had to turn double plays back then, because as good as it was in 2003 during the World Series year, it was even better back then.
Right down the middle. Volstad gets a strikeout. And there are 2 quick outs here in the first. Here comes the defense for the Marlins.
Check in on the defense tonight with Lomo, Coughlin, and Stanton. What a play Coughlin made last night. Defense brought to you by Warren Henry, Dobbs, Bonifacio, Infante, and Gabby over at first. John Buck behind the plate. Yeah, that play by Coughlin last night was all over every station.
Almost identical to that play that he made earlier in the year. We played him back-to-back last night on the post game, and it looked like almost the exact same catch.
Here's Brian McCann, had the night off in Game 1. Came back with a couple hits, drove in a run in last night's ball game. And a fastball is inside. McCann is maybe the premier offensive catcher in the game right now. Headed to his 6th straight All-Star game.
Especially if you were to play against the Marlins the whole time. He loves hitting against the Marlins.
One, 2 coming. Got him.
Nice job.
Brought that fastball back. Sinker caught the corner. Volstad works a 1-2-3 first.
Español vía Zap y es presentado por KFC.
Marlins and Braves, scoreless in the bottom of the first. Warren Henry brings you the Marlins lineup. Chris Coghlan in center field. Omar Infante at second. Logan Morrison in left. Gabby Sanchez is at first base. Greg Dobbs back in the 5 spot. Mike Stanton hitting 6th. John Buck 7th. Emilio Bonifacio slumping right now in the 8th position. And Chris Volstad hits 9th against Jair Jurgens.
It's amazing. You look at the numbers and the record that Jurgens has put together. He's 25 years old, 44 career wins, 4-1 in his career against the Marlins with an ERA of 3.86. He is second in the major leagues with the ERA of 1.75, and in all 10 starts he's gone 6 innings or more.
And the last start was the only start of the year he's given up 3 earned runs. Every other start has been 2 or less.
That's because he was the pitcher of the month in May, and that was June.
Ah.
But boy, was he dominant in May. 5-1 with a 1.65 earning. Here's Coghlan with Omar Infante and Logan Morrison to follow. Jurgens, the native of Curacao. Coghlan pulls that one down the first baseline. Is it fair or foul? It's called a fair ball by the first base umpire, Jim Reynolds. So there's 1 out.
All right, Warren Henry will bring you the defense for the Braves with Hinsky, Schaefer, and Young in the outfield. Chipper and Alex. Brooks Conrad gets the start. Dan Ogla off tonight. Freddie Freeman and Brian McCann. We haven't seen Martin Prado the last couple of nights. He's still battling a sore knee.
Braves are hopeful that he's back in this weekend when they travel to Houston to take on the Astros.
Not really what you want to see from your leadoff hitter coming up against a pitcher like Jurgens, who does not throw many pitches in his starts. You want him to throw at least a few to get the feel of what he's throwing for the night, and 1-pitch outs are not really great for your leadoff hitter.
Yeah, in 5 of his 10 starts, he's been under 100 pitches. 0-1 to Infante. Eduardo Perez in uniform for the Marlins. Technically, mechanically, how does it work tonight? Does he talk to hitters after the ABs, or is he just observing tonight?
I think he's going to be more of an observer tonight. He's got basically 12 new personalities to learn, see how they tick, how they react to making outs, and know if he can approach them even after they make an out. I mean, for myself, I didn't want anybody to talk to me right after I made an out because I might have done something physical to them that might have got me in trouble. So an out later, I'm fine, but right then, I didn't want anybody talking to me.
1-2 to Infante. Good sharp ground ball that's just foul.
So it's pretty much not only learning batting styles and situations, but learning personalities too.
I think that's the most important part. That's the most important job he's going to have his first couple weeks, is learning what makes everybody tick.
Now, Eduardo Perez was in the big leagues more than 10 years, but he was not a star. He was not an all-star. He was not a guy that was an everyday player. Here's the 1-2. However, you look around the league and you find that most of the really good hitting coaches were not terrific hitters in the big leagues. Why is that?
Tommy?
Well, I think because they had to really work at it when they were players. If it came easy for them, like a Hall of Famer, and not to say that it comes easy to anybody, but a little easier for those guys.
That's a good point. I think expectations for a guy that might have been an excellent hitter in the big leagues for a long time, he expects his players to be able to do that without much instruction.
They said Ted Williams was not a good hitting coach, which is amazing.
Yeah, right. Go figure. He thought it was easy.
2 outs, and here is Logan Morrison. Now, Morrison was the most outspoken of the Marlins last night, and even today at his disappointment that John Maley was dismissed. And I think a lot of it has to do with for guys like Morrison and Coghlan, Gabby Sanchez, Mike Stanton. He's one of the only hitting coaches that they've known coming up through the system.
And they've had tremendous success under his tutelage. So it's, I think John Maley was an extremely personable guy. I think they got to know each other very well. They had a great rapport with him. They can talk to him about anything. And it's almost like a friend has been fired and replaced with somebody they don't even know.
Here's the 1-0 pitch.
Tommy, who was your favorite hitting coach that you had in your career?
The guy that
and why
I worked with a lot was Billy DeMars. And Billy DeMars for quite a number of years. He was very patient. He'd work with you off the tee. He would reinforce you, let you know when you did things right, knew when to talk to you, not after you made an out.
1-1 pitch is a strike. Niner, how about you?
I mentioned in the pregame, Terry Crowley in Baltimore was probably one of my favorites. He was just very calm, had a very calm demeanor about the game, but 100% positive. He never dwelled on any bad swings that you took during a game. It was always that one swing. Even if you were 0 for 4 and had a horrible night, he would focus on that one swing that you did right.
1-2 pitch. Orson, little flip of the bat out in the center field and a base hit. Romo is aboard. Up comes Gabby Sanchez facing Jurgens here.
Take a look at the scouting report on Jair Jurgens. Lots of strikes. He's around the strike zone with just about everything. Changeup's his second pitch. He has a breaking ball, and he adds in some tracks. You hear us use that term. That means he takes a little bit off, adds a little to the fastball.
Braves just happy to have him on the mound and healthy. Gabby takes a shot at a high fastball.
One difference, talking about hitting coaches from years to years, generations to generations. Back in the minor leagues, coming up when I did, you didn't even have a hitting coach. They didn't have roving hitting instructors. You had your manager who worked with you on hitting, and some teams had a coach. But it wasn't a pitching coach, it wasn't a hitting coach. It was usually an older player, maybe even a player coach at times.
Here's the 0-1. And you'll hear differing viewpoints in that some hitters like a guy that's into mechanics, some like a guy that's more of a sports psychologist or a hitting psychologist.
That, to me, I think, for my personal experience, was the most productive hitting coach for me. Was a guy that could get into my head and just get me on the thought process that made me successful.
Grounder toward short. Gonzalez, little flip to Conrad, and the inning is over. Marlins and Braves are underway and scoreless in Miami. Gained 50%. So the Tarp crew for the first time this year on their toes. We hope that it holds off. We hope that we have 9 innings of baseball tonight. Chris Volstad going right after Chipper Jones with a good fastball. And it's 0-1. Jones to be followed by Freddie Freeman and Eric Hinsky. Breaking ball misses down low. Chipper still going strong. Surprising that he only has 9 career at-bats against Volstad. It's a pretty good pitch there.
Chipper had the quote of the spring for me. Someone emailed it to me on my phone, and I showed it around the clubhouse to the coaches that were in there. He was being interviewed by a guy in spring training, and they were asking him basically, why, kind of like, why are you staying around? Why are you hanging around? He didn't think he was, you've been hurt. Why are you still with the team? Is it a money thing? And the quote was, he goes, dude, have you seen my bank account? It ain't about the money. My teammates want me here.
Jeff, you talked about the first inning that Volstad had and the 2 pitches that he made to Alex Gonzalez and Brian McCann weren't necessarily the strikeout pitches that were the important ones.
It's the pitches that get hitters off the plate. You see this 1-2 pitch inside, see his feet move. All right, that's got his mind on an inside pitch right there. Ooh, he's coming in there pretty good with a sinker. As long as you can get, and here's another one, Brian McCann. He backs him up off the plate. Get their mind on something inside, and that opens up the outside part of the plate, which is very important for Chris Volstad.
Facing Freddie Freeman right now.
Well, you hear pitchers use that term so much that in order to have success, especially up here, you have to pitch inside.
I had a pitching coach in high school that would hand out quotes to us every week, and one of the quotes he handed me was from Sandy Koufax that said that pitching is the art of instilling fear.
And Koufax didn't have to pitch inside to instill fear.
I never faced him, but I saw some footage, and he looked pretty scary to me.
Of course, Jeff was a college pitcher at UCLA and did become a position player until the Royals drafted him in the 89th round long ago.
58th, come on.
Morrison makes a nice running catch on the warning track. That's a long way to go for a guy that's a first baseman at heart.
He's actually done a pretty good job, I think. There are some things that he really needs to work on. We saw the other night going back on a ball when he should have gone in. But right here, that's it's a long way to go. Your eyes are bouncing up and down, and to keep focus on that much distance is a good play.
And I'll tell you what, down on the field, it's breezy, too.
It is breezy today, very breezy.
Here's Eric Hinsky, and he takes outside.
So I think both the outfielders that have learned, Chris Coughlin and Logan Morrison, have made huge strides.
This offseason, the big talk was about how Chris Coughlin was going to take to center field, moving from left, and I think he's doing an outstanding job.
Well, there hasn't been any talk since the season started, which tells you that he's done a pretty good job.
Exactly.
And
there's been no talk about Mike Stanton. He's been doing a pretty darn good job in right, too.
Yeah, Stanton last year was impressive defensively. This year, I think the first month of the season was a little bit cautious because he was learning to play with some pain and some leg discomfort and didn't want to aggravate an injury. 3-0 pitch in the dirt, and the first base runner for the Braves is Eric Hinsky. Here comes Brooks Conrad with Dan Uggla getting the night off. Now, guys, Dan Uggla's one of our favorite players. Good guy. Love to see him succeed. But he comes into this series now with a batting average at 170. Tommy, you chimed in last night for what you've seen. Niner, what have you seen from Uggla?
I see a really uncomfortable hitter right now. He does not look like his feet are in the right spot. He looks like he's thinking about his hands. And I think a hitter, when he starts going into a funk, will start trying things and tinkering a little bit with their stance here, there, and they're getting further and further away from where they're successful.
And obviously the first time in his career that he's had a struggle this long, but he's sitting next to the right guy. On his left is the Braves hitting instructor, Larry Parrish.
But you give credit every time you talk to him. He doesn't say anything about how badly he's struggling. He's playing outstanding defense. We've seen him make a number of really good plays in this series so far.
Right, you don't see him playing with his head down, which the body language sometimes a player can give away what's inside of him by how he carries himself on the field.
A lot of lefties in the lineup. 7 left-handers in the lineup tonight for Atlanta.
And I don't know about you guys, I was a little surprised on the crowd reception that Dan Uggla got when he got to the plate last night. There was quite a few boos.
That surprised me. He did so much here. He was a popular player. Yeah, it surprised me.
0-2. And Volstad misses inside.
Another pitch in, though.
And remember, Chris himself said after that start in Arizona, where the left-handed hitters hit a couple of homers to the opposite field, that he had to pitch inside, that he had to do a better job of pitching inside.
And with an 0-2 pitch, you can go even further in right there. Not hit him, but I mean really make him think that he's got to be aware for that inside pitch.
Can a pitcher these days, like the advice your coach gave you, instill fear in hitters these days?
I think so. You know, I think they're a little bit quicker with the trigger of warning benches and stuff on intentional hit batsmen. But I think if you're in there a lot of the time and one gets away from you, then that's, you know, I think people believe that's part of the game.
I think you can, but I think it's harder now than years ago. Yeah.
I mean, look at Pedro Martinez. I mean, one of the things that made him so successful, other than he had outstanding stuff, was people were afraid they're going to get hit in the neck every time they went to the plate.
And Chase Utley is a perfect example, but even Brooks Conrad is right up on the plate, hands out over the plate, and that's something that modern-day pitchers have had to deal with that pitchers 10, 15, 20 years ago didn't have to deal with.
I know, Tommy, I'm sure back when you played, it was if you were in the strike zone, you're going to get hit.
Yeah, if you stood as close as those two guys Rich has referred to, yeah, they'd back you off quickly.
3-2 coming. That means Hinsky's on the move, and Volstad strikes out Brooks Conrad. Good solid start for Chris Volstad. 3 strikeouts in the books. Marlins back to work against Jair Jurgens. This guy in July in the desert when baseball's biggest stars will gather for one spectacular night, summer's biggest event, as Fox brings you every thrilling moment of the 2011 Major League Baseball All-Star Game. Coverage begins Tuesday, July 12th, live from Phoenix at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, only on Fox. When you have one of the lowest ERAs in baseball, I think you deserve to be there. Jair Jurgens lowered his ERA a tick by going through a scoreless first. He gets Greg Dobbs, Mike Stanton, and John Buck here in the bottom of the second.
Boy, in that All-Star Game graphic, they showed Adrian Gonzalez. What a year he's having in Boston.
Jurgens opened the year on the disabled list with an oblique strain. Of course, last year he had 2 injuries. He had a hamstring in April and then a meniscus injury in the middle of September and had to have surgery and missed the rest of the season. Dobbs squirts that one off the end of his bat, and Gonzalez flips it on over to first.
Still, for me, the best hands in baseball at shortstop, Alex Gonzalez.
It's a whole new ballgame when you watch him make plays.
It is a crying shame that he has never won a Gold Glove.
Why hasn't he? Has it been just he's not spectacular? He's not as flashy?
I think he's as spectacular flashier. I think it's become kind of an offensive award, which shouldn't be. And I think the incumbents usually get a token vote rather than the managers or whoever votes on it really taking a look at who's done the best.
Coaches and managers in each league are the ones that vote on the Gold Gloves. Mike Stanton now, 1 for 5. That one was the 2-run single with 2 outs and 2 strikes in the 9th inning last night against Craig Kimbrell that sent the game into extra innings.
I played with a guy in Baltimore, Mike Bordick. 2001, he made 1 error the entire season.
Stanton breaks his bat, and Gonzo throws him out. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Marlins. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins. Who won the Gold Glove at short the year Bordick made 1 error?
Omar Vizquel. It was, I don't know how many in a row he had won, but Mike Bordick broke records for consecutive errorless games, chances handled by a shortstop, and did not win the Gold Glove. Fielding percentage.
There was a year that Ripken made 3, and the Gold Glove went to Ozzie Guillen, and Ozzie, I think, made 14 or 15 errors.
How about the year that Rafael Palmeiro only played 50 games at first base and he won the Gold Glove?
I'm not even sure it was that many.
Oh, my gosh.
That's why I like the Fielding Bible Awards that John DeHaan gives out with his panel of experts, because they look at a lot of the new metrics. They also, get a little of the old school stuff in there as well. So guys that have great fielding percentage that have no range, like say a Kevin Kuzminoff at third base, don't necessarily with their 2 or 3 errors win the award over a guy, say a Ryan Zimmerman, who has a lot of range, who has 10 or 11 errors.
By the way, with Jurgens out there, we showed you on the scouting report how he adds and subtracts, and I think you've seen that. You've seen some guys get jammed. You've seen some balls squibbed off the end of the bat. It just gives you enough to keep you off balance.
Yeah, it's only you saw a changeup hit off the end of the bat at 84 miles an hour, 83 miles an hour. That's his fastball with a slight cut at 88. And that's just enough to get you off the barrel of the bat.
Originally signed by the Detroit Tigers and then traded to Atlanta for Edgar Renteria. Buck with a big swing and a miss. Full count, 3-2. That turned into a great trade for the Braves. They had a young shortstop, Yunel Escobar, in the system. And Renteria went to Detroit. And Jurgens, the Braves hope, will be part of their rotation for a long time. And he dialed up 90 on that fastball, strikes out John Buck. Scoreless ball game. for your chance to enter the Play Catch with Gabby Sanchez sweepstakes. 2 lucky winners will be selected to play catch on the field with Gabby prior to the June 21st game against the Angels. Log on to JiffyLubeCatch.com today. Jiffy Lube, official oil change of the Marlins. Matt Young for the Braves with Jair Jurgens and Jordan Schaefer right behind him. I hate to say this, but this is starting to feel an awful lot like last night and the night before. Pitchers duels. Brad Hand, Tommy Hanson in game 1, and Ricky Nolasco and Derek Lowe last night.
And I think because of that, we talked about this last night too a little bit, Rich, that I think it puts more pressure on the Marlins pitcher who goes out there, because he goes out there and he goes, man, this offense behind me is really struggling. I can't give up anything. And I think it adds a little more pressure to the pitchers.
Brad Hand made his Major League debut in the first game of the series. Gave up 1 hit, got the loss. I'll tell you what, in Fox Mo, Matt Young is pretty fast, and the next time you get a ground ball, you better not take your time with him.
Yeah, you got to eliminate that tap into the glove with Young running.
Jurgens takes a strike. Jurgens out of Curacao. Played for the Netherlands in the World Baseball Classic in 2006. Dobbs over to first. Some feel that Eduardo Perez is a guy that might be in line to manage the Puerto Rican team in the next World Baseball Classic, which is 2013. He has coached the Puerto Rican national team before, has managed in Puerto Rico. In fact, Eduardo was managing in Puerto Rico when Edwin was managing in Puerto Rico. They managed against each other.
I think they got a pretty good name over there. The Perez family name in Puerto Rico, I think, holds a little weight.
A little cachet.
I think the other thing, too, when you meet a guy like, first of all, it starts with Tony and his wife, Batuka, and then you meet their sons, Eduardo, Victor, another son, the older son, but when you meet them, you realize they've been brought up the right way.
Very, very nice family. Batuka has been, I mean, we've known her for a long time, and still asks every single day how the kids are, and like Tommy said, when you meet their kids, very respectful, very well spoken.
Jordan Schaefer up there, Volstad's 0-2 pitch. Put in play on the ground. Infante to his left. Chris Volstad. 41 pitches in. 3 innings in the book.
Is on the left there, 6'3", 215. The Marlins' first-round draft pick. Spent the last 3 years high school ball in Tampa after his miraculous story, living in Cuba, tried to defect more than 3 times, was put in jail for a period of a month, house arrest as well, and he took a boat with 7 other passengers and made it somehow to Mexico, and eventually a couple of weeks later to Texas, into the U.S.